faith. Have faith. Believe in your source. Have faith.
Welcome to Artists, Icons, and Entrepreneurs, the podcast that dives deep into the stories of trailblazers who shape our world. Our co-host, Lulu Benavidez, is a seasoned entrepreneur in the beauty industry, is a photographer, artist, and the proud owner of Lulu's The Salon in Galveston, Texas. Our other co-host, Krokonis Hanson, is a visionary in the entrepreneurial world with years of experience in business innovation and development. Together, they bring you insights, inspiration, and the journeys of remarkable individuals who have made their mark. And with that, let's get started. Changing lives one head at a time, Dean Banowetz, known as the Hollywood Hair Guy, is a renowned 7-time Emmy-Nominated celebrity hairstylist with over 3 decades of experience in the entertainment industry. Banowetz has left an indelible mark on television and film, holding 11 nominations and winning 4 prestigious awards from the local 706 Hair Union Guild. In addition to these accolades, Dean authored the Dean's List of Daddy Do's. As the department head behind several well-known shows such as American Idol, So You Think You Can Dance, World of Dance, and America's Got Talent, and on the teams of Legendary, The Voice, and Shark Tank, it is no shock that the Locks Wizard has secured celebrity staples like Lionel Richie, Derek Huff, Lisa Gibbons, Simon Cowell, Jennifer Hudson, and Kelly Clarkson, to name a few. As the founder of Hollywood Hair Guy Academy, Dean is committed to educating and inspiring the next generation of hairstylists. Hollywood Hair Guy Academy offers comprehensive training that blends innovative techniques with real-world applications, ensuring that students are well prepared to thrive in the fast-paced world of entertainment hair design. Dean's passion for teaching stems from his belief that every stylist has the potential to create magic, and he strives to cultivate that talent in each of his students. In addition to his work on set and in the classroom, Dean is a Guinness World Record holder, showcasing his dedication to pushing boundaries and achieving excellence in his craft. His journey began with a commitment to artistry and professionalism, earning him recognition not just as a stylist, but as a true innovator in the industry. Beyond his accolades and accomplishments, Dean's story is one of resilience and determination. In 1987, he was honored as the Soldier of the Year U.S. Army's 2nd AD, a testament to his leadership and commitment. Today, he combines that same dedication with his artistry, inspiring countless stylists to follow their dreams and elevate their craft in the vibrant world of Hollywood. To learn more about Dean Banowetz, visit HollywoodHairGuy.com.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Artists, Icons, and Entrepreneurs. I'm your host, Lulu Benavidez, and this show is where we dive deep into the stories and inspiration behind the most creative minds and forward-thinking entrepreneurs out there. Before we get started, let me remind you to please subscribe to Apple, Spotify, or to whatever you enjoy to listen to your podcast. And if you prefer to watch this in action, you can hop over to YouTube channel Artists, Icons, and Entrepreneurs, and hit the subscribe button. And don't forget to leave us a review. Your feedback will help us climb the ratings and reach more listeners like yourself. And of course, we have a goal to hit, which is 1,000 subscribers. So your support means the world to us. So at this time, let me introduce my co-host, the wonderful, insightful Krokonis Hanson.
And slightly crazy, but we don't need to say that.
Crazy.
I am so excited because, of course, everybody knows about Dean Banowetz and all the many fabulous things he's done in Hollywood. And Lulu said, oh, let's see if we get him on the podcast. And I'm like, oh, that'd be great. He looks so cool. I've seen his stuff. And I got your resume, and you're from DeWitt, Iowa. And I'm from Dubuque, Iowa, which is 30 miles away. And I can't figure out how we never connected, got to know each other. I guess I was flying east and you were flying west, but somewhere we were in Chicago Airport. I don't know. So I think there are a lot of people out there, Dean, who would just like to know about the person, about growing up in Iowa, your family, where you went to beauty school, and how that transitions into this fabulous career that you've built.
Well, where do I begin? First of all, thank you for having me on. It's a lot to cover. It's interesting because, like we were just chatting a little while ago, I'm the 13th of 15 kids, 8 boys, 7 girls, 1 mother, 1 father, all single births. Let me think of any other questions people normally ask. But I definitely am the lucky number 13. It was funny because I love to tell the little story, but I remember in grade school, one of the teachers was like, does anybody know what a baker's dozen is? And I go, that's me, number 13. And she looked at me like I was literally crazy. And she goes, I guess you are the baker's dozen.
Lucky number 13.
It has stuck with me ever since. But
yeah.
I mean, just to to give a brief overview, 13th to 15, right after high school, I had many opportunities I had scholarships for music, for singing, and I never wanted to make that a profession. It was always kind of a hobby. But I also knew that if I didn't decide to do something, I would be on that farm milking cows for the rest of my life. So I needed to do something, and I joined the Army, the U.S. Army.
Yeah.
I joined in 1985, and I have to tell you, it was one of the best things I've ever done. It taught me a lot of discipline. It taught me a lot of respect. It taught me attention to detail. It taught me so many different things that are lifelong skills that you're going to use throughout every career. And literally 2 days into the Army, I call my mom and I go, oh, I don't think this is the place for me, because I don't know, it was basic training.
Yeah.
And she goes, well, it is up to you because you're the one who signed that contract.
Yeah.
And she was very specific with me about what she said. And she's like, listen, you can make this the best tour of duty or the absolute worst. It is 100% up to you.
Yeah.
And she goes, but I can tell you right now, if you want to make it a really great memory and opportunity, you really only have to do 2 things. Number 1, you have to show up. And number 2, you have to participate. Because if you show up and you don't participate, you suck the energy out of the room, and nobody likes that. So show up, participate, and do what you need to do, and watch how things will happen. And I was like, oh, why is this woman always right? Number 1.
Very smart woman.
Number 2, I've got to do it.
Yeah.
And I just changed my attitude and my mindset. And I have to tell you, within the first 3 months of being enlisted in the U.S. Army, I won my very first Army Achievement Medal.
Yeah. And
everybody was like, whoa, that's really great. And I go, oh, isn't this just normal behavior? And they were like, no, most people don't get this. And during my service, I took every opportunity. I said yes to everything. And I became Soldier of the Year in 1987 for the 2nd Armored Division, which allowed me a lot of travel opportunities to train with the British Army and the German Army and just to travel. It was the first time I ever left the U.S. And then after I got out of the Army, I was going to school for art education and art history. And I got my associate's degree, and then I was like, ugh, do I really want to work in a museum, and do I really want to teach? And both of those answers were no. And so I reached out to my brother Leon, who's number 12. I should probably explain our Dewey Decimal System because I am number 13. If and when I get married, that partner will be 13.0. If we have kids, 13.1, 13.2, 13.3. So many times I will get an email and it'll say number 13, blah, 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 blah. And then it'll be signed 4.4. So I'm like, oh, great. Judy Alice Dolores Lloyd. It's my brother Lloyd's 4th kid, Tasha Tanya Brody. It's my niece Brandy.
I love it. I love it. It's an Iowa thing for sure.
And and I reached out to Leon, number 12, and I was like, I'm kind of at a crossroad. I don't really know what I want to do. Blah 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 blah. And at the time he was an art director for a tourist magazine in Dallas.
Cool.
And he goes, you know what? I really think you should do hair. And I was like, what? And he goes, you should totally do hair. And I was like, I've never thought about doing hair in my life. And he was like, you used to braid the tails on the cows when you were supposed to be milking them. Just do hair. And I was like, those are cute braids. Whatever. And I honestly, 2 weeks later, I was enrolled at Bill Hill's College of Cosmetology in Davenport, Iowa.
Bill Hill is like a friend of mine. I can't even begin to tell you Bill Hill stories. Yeah, love Bill Hill.
And I didn't know the first thing about hair. I mean, like, what the heck's a Marcel iron? Anyway, but I went in and I've never felt more safe.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's hard to explain because I didn't know anything, but I felt like I was really welcomed and I was supposed to be there.
Mm-hmm.
And I just, again, always think of my mother. Every single time there's an opportunity, she goes, show up and participate.
Right.
That's all you can do.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And so that's what I'm constantly doing. And that's really how the cosmetology career started.
There's this part of me that wants to say, do Brown Swiss or Guernsey, do their tails braid better or do you have to move?
Listen, if they don't have the hair, I'll find hair and put it on.
Yes, we can add hair. I have some hair I can show.
I mean, I literally would braid anything, twine, grass, hay, straw, like the whole, like constant.
Yeah, yeah.
But it was a great thing that happened because, you know, on a farm, again, you have the responsibility of not just yourself, but livestock and other people. And so it really teaches you a lot more about just, I don't know, being a good humanitarian too, and just being there for people, supporting people and showing up for people.
You definitely have to like people if you're going to choose to be in the people business.
And trust me, you can't really be from a family of 15 and not like people.
That's what I love about it. I think your background is fabulous.
It's going to make you crazy.
Yeah, yeah. So, you went to Bill Hill's school, which I love Bill. I knew him back when he was doing classes back in the days of NHCA and judging in Chicago and all that. So we go way, way, way back. And I was really good friends with the people that owned Stewart's. I don't know if you knew any of the Stewart's from there. I'm very good friends with them and of course Capri in Dubuque. So that's a really, really funny thing. Now, we're going to get off this Iowa stuff in a hurry and move on to more interesting things. But there's always questions when you say Iowa that I have to ask. So the big thing that we have to find out first in Iowa is
Hawkeye.
Hawkeyes. You're a Hawkeye. All right. That, ding, ding, 10 points. Okay. Now, here comes the big one. Cubs or White Sox?
Well, here's the deal. I've always been a bit of a bear myself, so I have to go with a Cub.
Oh, yay! Got 10 points. You're in the wheelhouse. Okay. So this is a kind of and I'll elaborate, but there's also a thing in Iowa. So it's a two-part question. The first one is Miller Lite or Bud Light?
Poppy, I've always been Bud Light.
Bud Light, okay. And then do you have the pony keg, the full keg, or the refrigerator in the garage with the pull thing?
Well, everybody in my family has a kegerator now in the refrigerator.
He's real. He's a true Iowa boy. I love this guy so much.
I mean, out of the 8 boys, 6 of them probably have kegerators in the garage.
Yeah. When I worked in New York and they would talk about things, I would say, every person in my family has a 20-year-old refrigerator that has a hole in it, and that's the keg, and they come in, and they would just look at you like you were insane, you know.
Oh, yeah, my brothers can install a tapper in a refrigerator in a hot second.
Yeah. I love it. And then these are 2 questions that are personal to me, but Georgie's in the restaurant, in the little tavern when you pull off, what was your favorite thing to order there?
Well, you know, listen, every time I go back to Iowa, one of the first things I need to have is a pork tenderloin. And usually they are like the size of my head. So whenever I bring somebody with me, they're like, what in the
that?
world? I go, just eat it, enjoy, get some pickles, you'll be fine.
But you have to have pickles. It has to have pickles on it. That's part of the kick. And then this is a personal question, but do you know the people that own Three Hills Rodeo?
I don't.
Okay. Yeah, because I used to come home from New York. I'd work all week in New York. I'd get the flight out on Friday, and then I would go barrel race on Saturdays and Sundays. And a lot of people are surprised to find out that this big family, I think about 4 or 5 generations now, is located in Maquoketa, Iowa, which you can throw a rock at. Yeah.
Right. And, it's interesting, too, because, you'd think in Hollywood there's not a lot of barrel racing. Mm-hmm. 2 of my clients, now they're both in college, but both females, because the Los Angeles Equestrian Center is literally 4 to 5 minutes in the direction. And they competed with barrel racing. Yeah. And I was like, get it. I love that. I feel like I'm back at the 4-H grounds.
And now you can see how all of this blended perfectly in our hairdressing career.
Yes.
I love it. Okay, at this point, Lulu, I can tell you he's certifiable. He's a real Iowan, and the man knows his stuff. So,
so good. So, Dean, I first met you back during Matrix days.
Yes.
And I was doing the craft cutting, and you were in one of my classes. And so I met you there. And then the second time I saw you was in...
was it Reno?
Right outside of L.A. At Paul Mitchell School, and Sharon Blaine and Ollie Puss was there.
Oh, yeah. We were in Pasadena.
Oh, Pasadena. Okay.
Yes.
Yes. And it was just before the pandemic.
Yes.
Yeah. And so I have a picture of Dean and I together, and you could see that I'm 5'2" or one. I say 2 because I'm gonna get.
I'm taller than you, and I'm 5'2".
Well, then I'm 5'1". So, and Dean, how tall are you?
I'm 6'4", 6'9" in heels, but who cares?
You're right. Right. So you can see that he's very, very tall. So that's
fun fact. My mother at 15, 5'1".
Yeah.
Are you serious? Oh,
Every
wow.
time she would see me, she was like, how did I have you? I wasn't this big when you had me.
Oh, God. So you have such a wonderful resume. But can you share with the audience your personal journey from Iowa to becoming the Hollywood hair guy?
Well, it's a fun story because, I was one of the platform artists for Matrix for, I think, 7 years. Uh-huh. And, I had my salons in Davenport, Iowa. Mm-hmm. And I'm a big goal person. I just have always been motivated by goals and personal challenges and that sort of thing. And, one of the things with my employees is we would always talk about a six-month goal plan. And I was working with one of my, employees, and we finished doing her goal. And then she did something to me that hasn't been done. And she turned to me and she goes, what are your goals? What are your personal goals? And, honestly, when you have a salon, everything you do goes back into that to keep it alive and to keep it moving and breathing and just going forward.
Yes.
And it kind of was a brick wall for me because I had kind of just forgotten about my own personal goals.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And the salon was that. And I go, I have 4 parts to a goal. You have to be specific, realistic, you have to take accountability, and you need a deadline. Mm-hmm. And so for me, the first thing is, I've always wanted to do hair for TV and film. Yeah. So very specific, but realistically, I would live in the middle of a cornfield in Iowa. Like my options would be to do a farmer's hair for a Farm and Fleet commercial. Or drive 45 minutes to a big city and blow out somebody's hair that's on the news.
Yeah,
honestly.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
And then, you talk about taking accountability and doing, your due diligence and your research and figuring it out. And the way I do that is I talk about my goals. I tell everybody about my goals. Like when I would do classes for Matrix, I'm like, hey, if any of you guys here, of a place where I can learn how to do hair for TV and film, let me know.
Yeah.
And then accountability, that's all part of it. It's almost like, it's like the your research and you're gathering information and all this other stuff, and then your deadline is 6 months.
Yeah.
And it was September of '99, and my employee was like, I don't think you can do that in 6 months. And all I'm gonna say is don't ever tell a Leo we can't do something.
You're a Leo?
I'm a Leo. Tell me
When's
I'm
your
pretty, I'll
birthday?
do whatever you want.
When's your birthday?
August 17th.
I'm the 6th.
And
So
I'm the
I
sixth.
get the Leo thing.
So we
So,
both
the
share
thing
the
was
same
is-
birthday.
Yeah.
So I was like, how do you do this? So I was just, every time I would do a class, and I would always say, hey, if you guys hear, of anything, anywhere that teaches you how to do hair for TV and film, let me know. And I don't know if do you guys know Vicki Peters? She was big in the nail world.
Oh yeah. Vicki Pierce.
She was so great. She literally mailed me a newspaper clipping of a class in LA that was teaching how to do hair for TV and film.
Wow.
And this was in '99, September of '99. The class was starting, I think it was like January 3rd of 2000. And I will never forget, this class was $2,500 and it was a week long. And I was like, oh dang, my rent is $350
Yeah.
in Iowa.
Yeah.
So I invest that much money. And, I always tell, I'm like, you ever need a large amount of money that you don't have and somehow that money finds you legally? Well, it found me, and I took the class, and, there's a checklist of stuff you need to do. And I just did it, and I had fun and met people. And the person who taught the class was like, you need to move to LA. And I was like, I have a Farm and Fleet commercial to do in Iowa. Back down. And so I literally kind of dismissed that and went back to Iowa. And I didn't realize that a lot of studios reached out to this person, and she gave my name to a lot of studios.
Oh wow.
Fabulous.
And so they were reaching out, and I was freaked out. And I called her and I go, are you giving my name to people? And she was like, yes, you need to live in LA. And I was like, you need to leave me alone. You're like a stalkerati right now. And she was like, you apply for one job and I will leave you alone. And so I put my resume together. I faxed it to the television show Extra. They called me within 8 minutes and had me come out to LA to do an interview. And I did the interview and came back home, and they called me 3 days later and they offered me the job.
Oh my God.
And then I was like, holy crap, it happened. And then I was like, I got to figure this out. And every one of my friends in Iowa was like, you need to do this.
Yeah.
Go. And I had a lot of support. And February 14th, 2000 was my very first day on the television show Extra as the hair supervisor for the entire nationally syndicated entertainment news magazine. And I was freaking out.
Yeah. In the deep end. Right in the deep end.
That's how it really started. And then I just started networking with other people.
Yeah.
Ryan Seacrest was one of our co-hosts, who was a guest co-host, and I did his hair. He loved it. And so he put me in his contract for everything he did. And I was his personal for 10 years. And so when he got American Idol, that's where I went.
Of course. Yeah.
And so American Idol was a game changer for me. And I'm still doing it to this day. I took a 6-year break when I helped develop the InStyler, which is a rotating curling iron. And when I helped develop it, I did the infomercial for it. And then they were like, well, we want you to do QVC for this as well. And I was like, oh, my goal is to do hair behind the camera, not in front of it.
Yeah.
And so I went through some media training, and I ended up doing 5 years on QVC, US, UK, Italy, Germany, France, all over. And it was pretty spectacular.
Yeah. That's awesome. I'll just say this, the one thing about people from Iowa, and I really mean this sincerely, Midwest in general, they tend to have a fabulous work ethic. We do show up, and we show up prepared, and we're ready to work hard, which I'm sure maybe other people could have had the opportunity, but there's no question, Dean, that you just jumped in. You already, I've got this, and look at how it's worked out. So,
like, what are your needs, wishes, wants, and dreams? I'm here to help.
Magic. can take those 3 hairs and braid them, and you are going to love it.
I know those 3 hairs don't get along, but they will be friends when I'm done.
So, Dean, I know that there are people listening to the show who are not from large metropolitan cities,
right,
who maybe have some of those same dreams and interests, maybe if not at that level, even at a lower level. Can you just explain, like, what is it like? You get a call, you're booked to do this. What's the process?
So well, you know, it was just the election. I got a call to work on an election show for Amazon. It was the first time Amazon was doing any live programming, and it was with Brian Williams, who was, I believe he was on NBC, and it was kind of his forte back into the news. And so they call and they go, hey, we have this show. It's going to be, you know, election day. It's going to be live coverage. We're covering state by state. We have about 30 talent that needs to be done. It's going to be split, half men, half women. What kind of team do you need? And when I think about it, you know, I'm always like, all right, you know, we can do probably 3 people each.
Yeah.
And so you build your team out that way. So I go, me plus 3 people would be great. And then we talk about, you know, what's the budget that's allocated? Do we need supplies? This is a one-day show, so I don't think we need a lot of supplies because we get a kit rental fee. And then I start building my team. And when I build a team, I love the I love to have a diversification of talent and hair needs. I want someone who is really proficient with textured hair, and I want somebody really proficient with barbering. I want somebody, you know, so when I'm building my team, I want people that are better than me in different categories, so we can really solidify a cohesive work environment so we can make this live show happen.
Right.
And, you know, my sweet spot is anything live. Anything to do with singing, dancing, and multi-talent acts like AGT.
Yeah.
Or big performance shows, because I'm literally the calm before the storm. I'm super, super calm throughout the whole process, because you can get worked up if you know you only have 4 minutes to do a quick change and a complete character alteration, you know?
Yeah.
Right.
But the thing is I pull on that Army career about being combat ready and get your plan of action in place. And I call it the cooking show for hair, where let's line it up and let's get it situated so you know exactly what's happening. And during dress rehearsal, we're running the drill. Yeah. If you need backup, I have people that can back you up, but I know you can do it. So let's give it a try. So that's kind of my sweet spot. I have something new that I haven't done before. I shouldn't say that. I've done it before, but it's been many, many years. But I was just asked to go day play on 1923, which is the prequel to Yellowstone.
Phenomenal.
And so on Veterans Day, the 11th, I'm flying to Montana for the week to do hair for 1923.
Oh my God, that's awesome. That's awesome.
I'm a day player, so I'm not a main person on the hair team, but when they have a big background or a big crowd and they need additional, you know, day players, I'm here to help for that. So I'm excited about going to Montana. Never been.
Oh,
it's going to be cold.
Oh,
hopefully I'll see some northern lights. Who knows?
Yeah. That's what a great series to get your feet wet in Montana.
Right.
Wow.
Well, and so that's kind of the process. And you know, I still do American Idol. I take care of Lionel Richie plus all the contestants. So I just got back on Monday from Nashville, because we were in Nashville for 2 weeks 10 days doing American Idol auditions there.
Wow.
And it's very surreal to me, because Carrie Underwood is replacing Katy Perry. And I did Carrie Underwood's hair 20 years ago when she was on the show.
Oh, wow.
And so the first time we saw each other, we were like, OMG.
Here we go.
20 years has looked really good on you. And she goes, you too, Dean.
Oh, awesome.
So, you know, Dean, you are a renowned person and a 7-time Emmy nomination celebrity hairdresser, holding 11 nominations and winning 4 prestigious awards from the Hair Union Guild. What do you attribute your success to?
Well, the big thing when I even talk about any of the awards and whatnot, first of all, I didn't even know you could win an Emmy doing hair.
Wow.
I had no clue. I mean, nobody ever talked about it in beauty school. It wasn't part of my everyday world in Iowa. I didn't even know it was an option. So when I'm in this world, and the very first time I was ever nominated for an Emmy, I had a double nomination that year. One for Dancing with the Stars and one for So You Think You Can Dance. And I was just kind of overwhelmed because I didn't even know that was a possibility. And when we talk about any award, the biggest component for that is the collaboration and the team you work with. On every single show that I've worked on where we've had to do really strong creative looks, like on Dancing with the Stars and World of Dance, and we did Grease Live. I was on the team for that. You have to work as a cohesive team. Because when that happens, magic happens. Because I've worked on shows where the makeup department doesn't talk to the hair department. I was like, how is anything going to get done? You have to work together. Absolutely. Listen, I always have an 80-20 rule. As long as I'm happy with 80% of my creative, I'll bend on 20%. For makeup and wardrobe, whatever's needed. It's not all about me. And when you have that mindset of a collaboration, really awesome stuff happens. But I will win an Emmy one day. I mean, 7 nominations alone.
I was just thinking about doing hair for the different shows like America's Got Talent, Dancing with the Stars. Because it's one thing to make somebody look really good who's sitting at a desk in front of a camera. It's another thing to do somebody's hair when they're spinning, dipping, bobbing, weaving.
Flipping.
You've got a whole nother set of construction challenges that maybe
It's all about the attachment. And how you secure things. And so it's a whole different mindset when you're doing hair. Like when you're doing a vintage finger wave style, that's going to fall and it's going to loosen up. So, we do individual stitches through the C shaping to hold it together. There's a lot of tips and tricks that we use on so many different shows. And even sometimes we'll hide a little scalp braid that we can whip stitch it to so we know it's not going to go anywhere. And so all of that it's a new way of thinking of how to do hair. And, my family in Iowa is pretty crazy at weddings. And I just did my nephew's wedding. I did the bride and my sister. And I'm doing the bride's hair. And this is going to sound so country and so crazy, but it's so true because at receptions and dance, they go crazy. They do. And I go to the bride, I go, now, do you have any plans on doing belly slides today? Because if so, I'm going to have to sew this down. And she goes, no belly slides for me. That's for other people. And so, it's all about how you secure and how you attach. And so I've learned so many new, fun, interesting things and just building pieces as well. For Legendary, I was one of the builders on that show, which was on HBO Max. And Geraldine Stevens ran the show, and she goes, I want a team of builders and creative people. And we had 50 contestants. Half were drag queens and half were drag kings. And so we're building these beautiful, crazy hairdos that are just aerodynamic and they have to be sewn on. And I just love that ability to be able to express yourself with your work. And let your work kind of speak for itself too.
So I read someplace in your very long biography that you were very involved in the Hair Union Guild, which is Local 706. I also would think that there are a lot of people who have no idea what that guild is, that it's how it works. Can you just sort of fill in there?
Well, again, I didn't know there was a union for hair.
Who knew?
And so when I came to LA, I mean, my first literally 3 years were just really, the makeup artist at Extra, Keith Crary, love him, God rest his soul. He took me under his wing and kind of gave me guidance on, he was like, you need to join the Academy, the Television Arts and Science, so you can vote for Emmys and you can, you know how to submit shows. I had no clue. So that was an awakening there for me. But he goes, and when it's time, you need to get into the union. Yeah. And I go, tell me about it. And he goes, well, first and foremost, you as a hairdresser and me as a makeup artist can get a pension. Yeah. It's one of the only jobs where there is still a pension that can be had. Mm-hmm. And he goes, the healthcare is amazing and your opportunities are going to be endless. Yeah. If you want to work on any big TV or film productions, it's union and you need to be a part of that. Right. And so I kind of just jumped in feet first. And the 11 guild nominations, that's all through Local 706 and the union, where they recognize and identify, you know, outstanding, you know, work in different shows and categories. And, you know, the Television Academy is a completely different program. And they both are really, really great organizations that help to unify entertainment, hair, and makeup people. And, you know, it's important because when I came out here, I mean, I did take a week-long course, so I kind of had an idea. But unless you're in it, you don't really recognize, you don't really understand all the moving parts. And I felt like I was eye hustling everyone. So when I was on a set, I was like this. Like trying to figure out what they're doing. I'm like, what is that? Okay, you know, because you don't want to, because when you're in the union, they think you know everything and you don't need classes. Oh my gosh, no, you never stop learning. Right. Yeah, exactly. And so that was the hard point for me, was just trying to really take it all in and see the dynamics of teams and how they work together. And then also, you know, our union during the pandemic, they were like, we have programs set up where if you need to pull from your pension and pay that back, depending on if you're not working, no production's working. Right. Exactly. Unless you're news, because that was deemed essential working, you know? And then it was brought up that entertainment, hair and makeup, entertainment, if you're in the entertainment world, you're considered, you know, you're a critical business because, you know, you're supplying literally entertainment for people who are stuck at home. Yes, exactly. And just the programs that were offered and available if you were a union member and so on and so forth. And, you know, they definitely come together and they look after each other. Yeah, that's great. Which is like a big family. Yeah. That's don't you think that's hairdressing in general? Kind of like really the Banowetz family. We're all related somehow.
So you've written a book, have you? It's called Dean's List of Daddy Do's. So what motivates you? Is that correct?
Yes, the Dean's List of Daddy Do's.
So what motivates you to write a book?
Well, it's the Dean's List of Daddy Do's, which is a self-help step-by-step guide for dads to do their kids' hair. Yeah. Because growing up in a family of 15, I listened to my sisters and sister-in-laws complain so much about their partners not stepping up and helping get the kids ready for school, church, dance. And, you know, it was one of those things I was like, well, I know my family's crazy big, but if it's happening in my family, it's happening in a lot of families. And so it's a fun book. You know, I didn't know how to write a book. And then I was like, you just kind of jump in feet first and you make it happen. And then you have to figure out how to promote that book.
Yeah, that's the key.
And I was working on Dancing with the Stars, and I gave the book to Ginger Z, who is the weather woman on GMA, because she was a contestant. And I think it was probably a month later, she sent me a message on Instagram, and she was like, Dean, I love this book. I want to pitch it for a morning show segment on Good Morning America. Cool. And I lost my mind inside. Yeah. I mean, outside, I was super cool. Right? But inside, dying. And because you know how hard it is to get anything on the Today Show or Good Morning America or anything without paying for it. Oh, yeah. And she she was like, will you send me 5 books? Cause I want to pitch it to the producers for a morning show segment. And they loved it. And they flew me out. I did that. The Rachel Ray show saw me. So they wanted to have me on, and I did Access Hollywood. I did Extra. I did many, many different shows. And, you know, the thing too is it can be very kitschy and campy and you know, and it can also be very entertaining and educational.
Yes. Yes.
So I love that. And it's a great gift to give any dad who has a new baby girl, so they can start reading and practicing on a doll head first.
I have a member of my family whose wife died very young with cancer and left him with 3 children, 2 girls, very young. I think they were 5, 7, and 11. And one of my most precious pictures of him is before a wedding in the back of the church with fixing his daughter's hair to put the flowers in. And when I saw the title of your book, I just immediately thought about Kevin. It's such a, you know, it's just, it's cool that somebody stepped up and wrote that book. Thank you, Dean. Thank you, Dean.
And it's, you know, and it's a fun book. And, you know, when you have options and ideas, you know, I've never done a book before, and I was like, oh, it's a hair book, so it has to be in color. But then I was like looking at the prices, and I was like, oh, buckets. I would have to sell this book for $30 if I do it in color, and I don't know if I'd buy my own book for $30. Anyway, so I had maybe 1 or 2 martinis, and then I was like, listen, maybe I make it into a coloring book for the kids to keep them busy.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what I did. So it's a coloring book for the kids to keep them occupied while Dad tries to figure out how to master a ponytail.
Yeah, that's cool.
That is so neat. That is so neat.
It was my favorite batch of lemonade.
Yeah. Definitely thinking outside the box. I love it. I love it.
For sure.
So Dean, I mean, I'm listening to all of these things, just vast swaths of huge information put into neatly packaged little sentences. Have you ever thought about having an academy for people who would like to come and learn from you, perhaps?
Well, yes. So, because last year I opened up the Hollywood Hair Guy Training Academy, which is here in Los Angeles. It's literally a 5-minute walk to Universal Studios, the City Walk. And you know, because I've always looked for a place that would teach you how to do hair for the entertainment world, for TV, film, stage, and fashion. Yeah. You know, how to do a proper wig wrap if you're going to be using a wig or a hair piece or any of those things. Because when you work in the business, there are specific wig wraps and styles to utilize for different people, different shows. Right. And there's no place that I have found where you can go and you can take courses to learn how to do hair in the entertainment world. Yeah. So I have HollywoodHairGuy.com is my website, and you can go on HollywoodHairGuy.com and click courses, and we have like Set Hair 101 where we teach you, I know I'm going to sound so crazy when I say this, but we teach you terms.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
And the chain of command. Like, I remember the first show I'm on, I'm like, what's a gaffer? Yeah, I don't know what a you know, and somebody was like, oh, the honey wagon's outside, and I was like, why do we need a wagon of honey? And they go, that's the bathrooms, and I go, well, then just call it the bathrooms. Honey wagon. But like, there's so many of those terms. And I remember somebody was like, oh, this is the martini shot. And I go, where do we go get martinis? And they go, no, that means it's the last shot of the day. And I go, so we talk about terms, we talk about the chain of command, we talk about the hierarchy of the crew and the team and their roles and responsibilities and what they do. And that's just the beginning. But we also talk about, you know, the difference between being in the union and having union representation or being part of an agency. Yeah. You know, because there's a lot of people who do freelance work with celebrities and so on and so forth. And that's more agency work. And so we kind of, you know, we break those down and talk about pros and cons of each. And, you know, we cover a lot of things that you really just need to know to start in the industry. And it doesn't matter if it's TV, film, stage, or fashion. And I say fashion because when you're doing a runway show, you need to know how to do wig wraps, and you need to know how to attach pieces, and you need to know how to work quickly, and so on and so forth. So I put together set hair 101. We have a set hair 102. We also have drag wig styling courses because, the drag styling is for anyone who is fascinated by drag. You don't need to have a cosmetology license. We literally go through every single thing with you, step by step. I have my wig. I just got a really big, it's a Guardian 9-head wig dryer cabinet. It's like but they use them in a bunch of theaters, and I was like, I'm saving for this because this is critical. And we do all the wig wraps, and we do the styling. We're also working on braiding classes. We also have business development. I have personal coaching if somebody just wants to reach out to me and go, hey, we do it by the hour, and I'm happy to discuss if you want to work in film. Okay, let's talk about where you want to work. Where are you from? Because there are many states with tax incentives. That's why I'm going to Montana to work for 1923 because they have a tax incentive there. There's tax incentives in Texas, also in Georgia, Louisiana. So where do you want to be, and what do you want to do? And just to be able to have, a hair entertainment career coach, if you will, to give the guidance. Yeah. Because I think it's really important, and honestly, it's everything that I didn't have when I came here. And I think there's enough for everybody.
Yeah.
And
Definitely.
I think it's really critical for us to pass on our knowledge too.
Right. That's why Lulu and I decided to start the podcast, because we just felt there are all these fabulous people. We wanted to put the spotlight on them, and hopefully some younger people or some people who are in their career but kind of getting burnout. Like you said, you own a salon, it's just your whole be all. And then all of a sudden they see something and it triggers that, inspiration.
Listen, sometimes you get tired of doing Bank of America hair.
That's true.
I was going to tell you. Go ahead.
One of the students who took the class, who's now working with me, Tamika, I go, why are you here? And she goes, I am tired of doing Bank of America hair. And I go, I'm going to be using that for the rest of my life. Thank you. Because it's true. It is. I am that person. If I had to do the same thing every day, Monday through Friday, I would go nuts. If I had to be on the same show every day, all day, I would go nuts. I love the diversification of a career. Right. I can go to colleges and do lectures, for future hair students. And I can take a week and I can go to Montana and help with that show and be done with that. And then help, Abbott Elementary. They've called a couple of times if I could help on bigger shows with all the students and so on and so forth. So I like to have that option of doing something different.
Right.
And to have a school, an academy like yourself, it's awesome. It's awesome to be able to teach that to the new people or people that want to change.
100%.
Yeah.
So, oh my God, we're going to have you next time on this Artists, Icons, and Entrepreneur podcast. Because you have, so much, and you're doing so much in the industry, and we can't cover it all. So we definitely want to have you back. But can you tell the audience? Yeah. Great. So can you tell the audience where they can find you?
Well, my Instagram is probably the best. Is DBano. And the thing is I have a link tree that links every course I have. I have a bunch of different options that are on there. You can purchase the book. You can do programs. You can book me for counseling or, coaching and so on and so forth. And you can also go to HollywoodHairGuy.com. But Instagram, that link tree has everything there. Of course, I'm a needy Leo. So follow me. Tell your friends to follow me. And I'm just starting with my TikTok, which is the same. It's my name. And there's a link through on that as well. But, it's as the industry grows and as we grow and as time passes, there's all of these new innovations that you need to be super mindful of. And you need to be aware of, and you need to participate in.
Correct.
And so, when I I'm like, oh, geez, I need to learn TikTok. Another thing I need to
Yeah,
learn,
right.
you know, but it's a part of growth.
Yeah,
and
it
it's a
is.
part
It
of
is.
expansion.
Right.
And, you know, you're never too old to stop learning. I'm saying you have to continue it.
I know. It has been such a learning curve doing this podcast. You know, all the, you know, I'm involved in the technical part, so I can get it. You know, I sleep with my iPad and I listen to different podcasts. I listen to different people on YouTube. You know, constantly learning, you know, just like yourself and just like all of us. And all our guests that we had, you know, everyone have said, you got to practice. You have to practice.
You are,
You know?
you constantly have. I mean, people goes, you know, can you do this? Yeah, and I go, not in your mind, like physically. Can you do this physically with your hands? And the thing too is, I always quote Bill Hill in a lot of different things, because he was like, people don't care what you know until they know you care about them.
That's right.
And I've used that so many times because it's true. It doesn't matter who you are, where you are. You just want that acceptance, that acknowledgement, and to be heard.
Right.
And the thing too is you have to be able to learn to really facilitate that across the board. And he always said, the second you stop learning, go ahead and get rid of this career, because you're not going to survive.
It's
Right,
over.
right.
Well, I'm an 82nd Airborne brat, so I have to tell you, I am absolutely stealing combat ready. Because nobody practices drills more than the U.S. military. And so if you're going to be combat ready, I love that. I love that.
I have one story about being combat ready that is going to solidify a lot of things. So Lisa Gibbons, I've worked with her for many, many years. Love, adore her. She's a really close friend. She was doing the red carpet for the Academy Awards, and it was the first time at the then it was the Kodak building, and it was, I think, 2002. And I am always combat ready. I sewed pockets on my socks just to put a protein bar in there so I wouldn't get too hungry. But you have to wear a tie, and you have to wear a tux on the red carpet, and I wore a long tie. And, you know, on a men's tie, the underneath part of the tie, the little part of the tie, I have it filled all the time with every color of bobby pin you can imagine, everything. And I have one bobby pin that holds it together.
Yeah.
And I'm with Lisa on this small stage on the red carpet. Julia Roberts comes up. She sees the bobby pin and goes right. She goes, oh, my God, I need bobby pins. And I lifted up my tie and I go, take your pick. And I go, that's called combat ready. Okay. And she was like, I love this.
I love this.
Dean.
Gotta be
Dean.
combat ready.
Yeah, that's it. And
Got me
so,
thinking.
We're definitely going to end this podcast with being combat ready. Thank you so much
Love
for
you,
joining
Dean.
us.
Thanks for being on.
And we
I
love
appreciate
you.
it so much.
Thank you.
Wow, what an episode. That wraps up another exciting edition of Artists, Icons, and Entrepreneurs. Thank you so much for joining us. We hope you're leaving inspired and ready to chase your dreams. Don't forget to follow us on social media and subscribe to our podcast so you never miss an episode over at youtube.com/artists, icons, entrepreneurs, as well as Facebook at Lulu Benavidez, on IG at Lulu Benavidez, at Evolve Hair Solutions as well. And don't forget to visit our website at lulubenavidez.com and evolvehairsolutions.com to stay updated. Until next time, keep dreaming big, creating boldly, and making your mark on the world. Thanks for listening, and take care, everyone.